Hey guys, this is Dr. Aaron Ernst. Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of Q&A with Dr. A. If this is the first time you've ever joined us for this, each and every week I come to you live as this broadcast to answer the questions that you guys have submitted over the last week. Questions come from our current patients, they come from our email list, they come from our listeners on our radio show. We've even gotten just a few people who stumbled across our website and send questions in. So each week you get to be the author of the show. And what I want you to do, if you'd like to submit your question for an up-and-coming episode, scroll down below this video and you'll find a button you can click that says submit your question here. We call it your health hour because what we want you to do is be able to get an idea behind what you're looking for health is sometimes just a click away. These answers can transform your life, and sometimes many of these questions are something that you may be curious about yourself. So ask away and we'll give you a great response. First question says, I heard acupuncture is good for a leaky gut. Is that true? And so I want to talk a little bit about sort of my understanding of acupuncture. I am not an acupuncturist, but I do get acupuncture. And what I love about them is just the general concept of blockages. So when you talk about energy, it moves through the body just as much as it does anything else. And so in acupuncture, they discuss the meridian systems or the meridian paths. And inside of that, what we have is blockages that can potentially happen. Now, in Eastern culture, meridian paths have been mapped out, and there are certain points. And so what can happen is you can get a buildup or a blockage of energy along a point, along a specific meridian. And so different meridians are for different organs. So if we're going to talk, can acupuncture help with a leaky gut? We're talking large intestine, small intestine, lymphatic meridian points. Now, the general theory is this. Just like you can have blockages or irritations in your arteries, you can have blockages in your nerve system, you can also have a blocked meridian system. And so the process of it is to take the excess energy that you have, to release it and to let it flow through the pathways. So if you have a blockage of your meridians in your small intestine and large intestine, can acupuncture be very helpful for soothing, releasing, and activating energy? Yes. One thing that I find fascinating is if you go to a really good acupuncturist and they get the needle placed properly, you'll see it actually wiggle and move. Sometimes it burns, sometimes it's cool or hot. So you really know the effectiveness of the energy changes based upon sensations during a session and then afterwards. And like I said, I've been getting acupuncture for quite some time. So does my family, my wife does, my kids do. It's amazing stuff. The one thing about acupuncture that I want you to know about is it requires energy to be flowing, and we have to talk about where energy is coming from. So first and foremost, all of the energy in your body comes from your brain. And if you were to look at a meridian chart, you'll find almost all of it flows from the brain down the spinal cord and then out. So while it's great to get acupuncture, you have to make sure the source is open and unclogged. And that would be, of course, brain, spinal system, and everything else. So can it help? Absolutely it can. And that's something great. Next question says, in your seminar, I see that you mentioned cancer is likely an immune response rather than being a condition. Can I explain that further? And yes, so while it seems crazy to think about cancer like that, what I want you to understand is your body always does the right thing at the right time. And some of the big causes of cancers are hormone imbalance, toxic buildup, viral or bacterial loads. And so let's just pretend that we have a viral type cancer, which could be a lymphatic cancer. So if there's a virus in your body's aware of it. And so lymphocytes and leukocytes and all the white blood cells are going to be activated to try to go after that virus. Now, if the virus is constantly there and constantly developing, you build a bigger and harder and heavier immune response. So month after month, year after year, decade after decade, you start to deplete and weaken the immune system. The virus starts to take a hold in the lymphatics or in a tissue. So for example, HPV would be in the cervical tissues. Hepatitis can be cancer in the liver, etc. So in the long run, so 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years down the line, what happens is the body says, well, look, the immune system is not getting rid of these viruses, so let's wall them off, or let's create a barrier, a boundary for it. So in that instance, the enlarged lymph nodes, the hardened natures, the things that would show up on a CT, an MRI, or an X-ray is actually your body trying to protect you, walling off the organisms. Now, if we look at cancer as the end result, then it makes sense why chemo, surgery, radiation would be the therapy for it. Just get rid of the nodules, get rid of the tumors. If the tumors are gone, then you're cancer-free. But we now know, after studying cancer for as long as we have, that that's not the case. There's always a cause. So what often is found is the tumors are present as a protective mechanism, as a way for your body to hold back and keep a tissue from spreading disease throughout the body. So when I say it's a defense mechanism, that's what I mean. Now, cancer pretty much only shows up under certain circumstances. A very toxic environment, one that's loaded with low pH or acid, one that's depleted from oxygen, and a very high sugar condensed area with no neurological supply. So if I have a nerve that's pinched that controls my breast tissue, if my system is acidic because I eat a lot of processed foods and I'm toxic, if I'm deoxygenated because I'm either not working out or I'm not paying attention to my saturation rates, this tissue, because of the lack of nerve supply, will start to develop small cysts. Those can be precancerous. And so if they're not taken care of, if the body's not addressed properly, those can become precancerous states or cancerous states. And then the dangerous part of it is, if you do cut it out, you run the risk of rupturing the capsule. If you do biopsy it, rupture the capsule. And of course, if you get chemo or radiation, you're just adding more of the cause to the current problem. So it's a known fact that approximately 60% of cancer patients that get some sort of treatment using chemo, radiation, or surgery end up with more tumors down the line, or they spread. So we don't want to take the approach of looking at the cancer as the problem. We want to look at the cause as the problem. 3 primary causes of all disease, including cancer, is an inappropriate relationship with the bacteria in your gut, or a leaky gut, chemical stressors like way too many toxins or viruses or bacteria or nutritional deficiencies, and then thirdly, lack of normal nerve supply. So I know that's short and sweet, but that was about a 2-minute condensed version of our entire seminar that we did on cancer just recently. Don't forget, if you're asking questions about cancer, go to our website. By the time this is up, hopefully you'll be able to see the video of our cancer killers. You can watch the entire event. It's probably the best one I've ever done to date. Next question says, can a leaky gut cause symptoms of anxiety? And here's the thing, yes, yes, and triple yes. Not only can leaky gut cause anxiety, but it can cause a whole host of diseases, ranging from thyroid conditions to arthritis to chronic fatigue, even to some big heavy players like autoimmune conditions, rheumatoid arthritis, MS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, even cancer. To stick specifically to how can a leaky gut create some sort of a mental issue like anxiety or depression or something like that, we have to enter into the world of what's known as psychobiotics. And basically, short and sweet answer is this. There's what's known as your gut brain. It's the intimate connection between the intestines and the brain. And what happens is we now know that there are enteric nerve cells in the gut tissue, meaning there are brain cells inside of your intestines. They secrete hormones, everything from epinephrine to dopamine to serotonin. In fact, it's been estimated that 90% of your serotonin is produced inside the intestines and has to travel through the blood and through the nerve system to get to the brain. Now, serotonin is your feel-good, I feel elated hormone. Dopamine, which is also produced by about 50% in the intestines, is your just, man, I love life, happy hormone. So imagine if your gut is irritated and you're not getting the right serotonin and dopamine flowing from the intestines to the brain, you can create agitation, irritation, anxiety, depression, mood disorders. And when I said the word psychobiotics, that's the psychiatric field's notice that when you give yourself good bacteria, you can change the way a person thinks and feels about themselves. So what I would like to say is, most of the time, if you've ever done this, if you've eaten food that you know for a fact shouldn't do, or you overate or something to that effect. Most people they have that oh, I just feel terrible, tired, fatigued, whatever. It's partly because you've overloaded the gut system. So when we look at something like psychobiotics, the connection of the gut to the brain, when we look at anxiety and depression, many times if you clean your gut out, you change everything about your health. And if you've been watching us to any degree, you know that if you fix your gut, you're fixing 1/3 of the main causes of all conditions known to man today, including anxiety, including headaches, including cancer, and everything else. Next question says, why do I always get fatigued and feel tired and changes like I'm sick when the seasons change? And is there anything I can do to combat that? And so here's the thing, it's a great question. And one thing that I noticed is, I'm going to ask you a question. When is the cold and flu season? So if you do any research into it, it's the end of October, November, December, January, February. You're going to start seeing cold flu this, get your flu shot left and right. So how come the flu wasn't really attacking you during the summertime, right? So why is it that there's a season for illness versus a non-season for illness? And this is, again, my speculation. It's my belief. You don't have to follow this if you don't want to. But let's look at November, December, January and find out what's going on in those 3 months that's not in any of the other months. So first of all, it's the coldest period of the entire year. So are there things that start to happen? We tend to stay inside more. We're not getting as much vitamin D. We don't go outside in the sun. We're not letting the sun use its natural ability to kill things, etc. So most of the time we become vitamin D deficient during the season. So that'll create a weakening to your immune system. Secondly, if you look at November, December, January, 3 massive holidays that most of us turn into 90 days. Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Parties, we let our diet go downhill fast. Sugar is okay apparently during the Halloween seasons and Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. It's just a day, but before you know it, you turn it into 90 days. So are there some things we can do as we transition seasons? Yes, first and foremost is know your vitamin D numbers and keep them above 60. 80, ideally upwards to 100. It's been proven to keep your immunity so strong you don't get sick. Number 2, we have to cut the sugars down. Sugar is known to deplete your immune system strength within minutes. So they've done several studies where you can take a cube of sugar, put it in your mouth, measure your white blood cell activity, and they find the white blood cells kind of become drunk. It's like they have no idea what they're doing for up to 4 hours with 1 sugar cube. Now guys, 1 sugar cube is about 2 teaspoons, and most of you are getting more than 2 teaspoons throughout each day, throughout the entire time frame. Another thing is there's a big connection between how much you sleep and the strength of your immunity. So we want to get you sleeping 6, 8, 9 hours if possible, boosting your vitamin D, getting your spine adjusted more than ever before during the holiday seasons, because of course we're stressed out, we're running all around, we're trying to buy gifts, we're running late, we have projects like crazy because we're going on vacations. Decrease the neurological stress, clean out your nutrition, do a detox, get some sleep, boost your vitamin D. That's how we combat seasonal coldness and changes. Next question says, what exactly is a coffee enema and what is so good about them? And listen, it's kind of interesting. A lot of these questions are geared towards exactly what we did at our cancer seminar. So I love that. It means you guys are engaged. But let's talk first about what an enema is. And classically, an enema is a method of sort of introducing a liquid into the intestines for the purpose of washing and cleaning out the colon, typically to induce a bowel movement. So if you get a lot of blockages and backups and things like that with stool, we use enemas, typically a saline solution, introduce it to the bowels, slosh them around, and everything comes out. So if you've ever had chronic constipation, maybe an enema is your best friend. Coffee enemas, though, as the name says, is instead of using a saline solution, we use coffee, and there's a couple reasons for that. Coffee has a massive amount of antioxidants, massive, more antioxidants than almost any food product you can get. Antioxidants help to prevent the damage from oxidative process. So anything in your body, any metabolism is creating free radicals and oxidation. So it's basically a way to massively push antioxidants in. Secondly, because of the way you do it, of course it's rectal, it goes through the colon, you're absorbing the nutrition into your hemorrhoidal veins. The liquid that is absorbed through the hemorrhoid veins, it's straight through the veins that go up into the liver. So you bypass the entire system of supply through the arteries and the veins by going rectally. What that means is the antioxidants and the caffeine can go straight to the liver. Now caffeine is very stimulatory, of course it's excitatory. And you may not think of your liver as a muscle, but technically it is a muscle. So the caffeine stimulates the liver to sort of start squeezing and pumping, and your liver's your big filter. So we start pushing all the bile and the cholesterol and all the toxins out, and then the antioxidants help to clean the liver out because again it's your major detoxifier. So in a nutshell, that's what a coffee enema is, and that's why it's so good to do them. Ideally I would say at the minimum maybe once a quarter give yourself a coffee enema, minimum, just to keep things moving. Once a month, now we're starting to get to more preventative, and if you have a condition that's bowel related or you have cancer, you might be doing them multiple times a week or per day. So you can also, of course, Google coffee enemas, but really very basic. They got sort of introduced into the holistic health field through a Dr. Max Gerson, who was using them, getting wild success with treating people with cancer, because again, cancer is caused by gut disturbances, way too many toxins, and neurological imbalance. So a coffee enema is going to help you to clean out your gut and clean out the toxins. Next question says, you're constantly talking about how bad sugar is, and I'm hearing that artificial sweeteners are also bad too. What do I do for my sweet tooth? Well, I love the fact that you're at least expanding your knowledge. I'd like to say that if I had to rate them, though, an artificial sweetener is worse than sugar. You know, if I was faced with, like, you got to eat sugar, you got to eat, equal, I'd rather eat the sugar and deal with the effects of what sugar does to my body, though dangerous, than taking a known neurotoxin and a known chemical agent that actually causes brain damage. So the pink and the yellow and the blue, all of these sort of artificial sweeteners, they use chemicals to create the sweet taste to them. They're not only neurotoxic, but they're also what are called excitogenic. They actually excite nerve cells within the brain, which we don't want to do. Now you mentioned, of course, the only reason we say sugar is bad is because we eat way too much of it. Technically, sugar's not bad. Just like good cholesterol and bad cholesterol don't exist. It's just cholesterol. So sugar's an entity, but we have to deal with it. Most of us eat way too much sugar, so that's why sugar's bad. So if we're cutting our sugar consumption down and you have a sweet tooth, let's deal with that first. That's usually a sign of a sugar addiction. Now, if you truly take sugar out of your diet, the sweet tooth should actually rot out and fall out of your mouth within about 2 weeks. But some of us still like to have a sweetness to the things we eat, so stevia, my favorite. Now, I had a patient point this out to me. She went on and got some stevia, brought it back and said, why do my sugars spike when I eat this stevia? And so we bought it, we turned it around, and guess what? There was a maltodextrin sugar in the stevia extract that she was using. So it was like stevia plus sugar. So be extremely careful with stevia. It should read on the ingredients, stevia, and that's it. And that sort of brings me to my last question. Somebody asked for a description on how to read nutritional labels. So Tom, if it's possible, can you pull in on this? You guys should be able to see this, and I'm going to walk you guys through this. Nutrition labels, to me, they're like code. You have to know how to read them. And it doesn't matter what's in the food, if it's the most healthiest organic food product on this market. Read the nutrition label, and you'll find out how healthy this food is for you. Now, this nutrition label, I'm not going to say who it comes from, but it comes from a health food product. And I'm not going to list ingredients. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is. I want you to help me to find out, is this thing really as healthy as they say it is? So starting from the top, I'm sure you can see this. It says that there are 230 calories per serving, which is, not a lot. It's a low amount. There's 8 grams of fat, which I like. There's fat in it. There's no cholesterol. There's a little bit of salt. But look at this. There are 37 grams of total carbohydrates in this food product. Now, if you look underneath it, it says the dietary fiber is 4 grams. So to find your net carb amount, you take the 37, subtract the 4, and of course you're looking at, what is that, 32 if I'm doing the math right? 31. So that's going to be the gram amount of sugar in that food product for the one serving. Now, if you guys don't know this, 30 grams or more is a tremendous amount of sugar. Now, I would suggest that on the average, you try to keep your per item intake to like 5 grams or less. So this is 6 times more sweet than what I want, even though it's a health food product. But this container has 8 servings per container, and I promise you, you would probably eat all 8 of these. So let's do some math here. 37 grams of total carbohydrates times 8, that is a 296 gram carb load for total carbs. Even if I subtract out 8 times 4 for the fiber at 32, I'm still looking at 264 grams of sugar. This is why sugar is so dangerous, guys. This food product was labeled as a healthy alternative. So if you just get sucked into mainstream marketing, you're going to have a big issue. The other thing to look on here, of course, is the fact that there's 8 grams of fat, great, but anytime the carbohydrate amount is higher than the fat amount, I get concerned because I want fat first, protein second, carbs third. The amount of protein in here is 3 grams. So this is a sugar, fat, protein snack. Horrible. even though it's a health food. So again, don't just read the fact that it says it's GMO free or it's organic or it's a healthy alternative or it's natural. Flip the package over, do the math, and the most important math is total carbohydrates minus the fiber to find your per serving sugar load, and then multiply that by the number of servings, because you're probably going to eat the whole bag, and ask yourself, is that 10 grams or less? This one's literally close to probably 3 to 4 times way too much sugar. And hopefully that helps to set some of you guys free. Now, I don't care what the ingredients are in this. I don't care what it is. It's way too much sugar for me. Not enough fat to protein ratio. This one's out, and hopefully that helps you guys to read some food labels. Hey, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I look forward to seeing you each and every week on Q&A with Dr. A. That is here every Thursday at 7 p.m. And don't forget, on Saturday, 11:10 a.m., 3 o'clock in the afternoon is the Ask Dr. Owen show. You can also join us for that. And hey, listen, we have a dinner seminar coming up on how to repair a leaky gut, my 4R system. That dinner is already filling up. I think we have more than 50% capacity as of tonight. And so this one's a hot topic. Food is included by me. All they need to know is, do you want to join us for a great evening? It's on Tuesday, November 1st, which is it's a Tuesday, I already said that. Tuesday, November 1st, 6:30 p.m. at the Hickory Tavern here in the North Lake area of Charlotte. Thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Until then.